Husker Nation, there's a lot of questions surrounding this Nebraska football team right now. The Minnesota game, was that an anomaly? Was that an outlier? Every team has about one game per year that's an outlier. That's why there's big, gigantic upsets of teams that could play for the national title, but they have one loss to a team that they would never lose to on a normal, typical day. But these are human beings. They're not names and faces on a video game that you can cut, trade, and or delete. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you're in a video game and you're rated 85, every time you go to play, you're an 85. But as a human being, one day you might be an 85, then you might be an 82, then you might be an 88, God forbid a 79, then you might play at an 89. Was that an outlier game? Or is that who Nebraska football really is? We're going to find out this weekend versus Northwestern, and stay tuned because Matt Rhule said as much. He said, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves. He had a lot to say. I'm going to talk about his press conference more than I ever have in a preview and prediction show as we get ready for Northwestern. And speaking of Northwestern, this is a season-defining type of game. Are we going to head into November 5-3 again? Or 6-2, something we haven't done for a long time. USC is going to be exciting and fun. I can't wait for that game. But the season-defining games are Northwestern, UCLA, Iowa, games like that. Games where we don't really know how good the other team is and we don't really know how good we are. We're a little bit inconsistent and we know it's going to be a one-score game. Do we win? Do we lose? When we get punched in the mouth, do we punch back? In a football sense, of course. Stay tuned at the end for my keys, my prediction. Let's chat, shall we? Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the polls of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, CarrikerChronicles.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. It's just science. And if you're like me and you don't want any more excuses, you want Nebraska just to find a freaking way to win and beat Northwestern, smash the like button if you haven't done so yet. Make sure you subscribe and to ring that notification bell. As always, it helps us out and we surely do appreciate it. All right, Nebraska, Northwestern. The Huskers opened up as a 9.5-point favorite right off the bat. It's already dropped down to 6.5 points. It's kind of like when Nebraska opened as a 4-point favorite versus Minnesota, went up to 9.5 and then dropped back down to 7. Why would that be? That would be because people don't trust Nebraska. And then Friday happened and we understand why, but we're going to move on. We're going to move forward to the future and we're going to talk about Northwestern. All right, the over-under for the game, 44.5 points. So if you think about it, that's like 23-21, 24-20, something like that. So it's going to be a little bit of a dogfight, a little bit of a rock fight. If they throw rocks at us, I hope we throw them back. If they punch, I hope we punch them right back in the frickin' mouth. In a football sense, of course. All right, as always, I got a whole bunch of information, facts, and stuff that I hope you find interesting. But we're going to start off a little bit different. Matt Rhule had one of the most interesting press conferences I've seen in a while. But before we get to that, I showed this a couple weeks ago and we're going to show it again. We had a good team on paper. Unfortunately, the game was played on grass. After Friday night's loss at Minnesota, Nebraska now ranks dead last in the Big Ten and 131st nationally in sacks allowed. And you look at PFF. I do think PFF is better at grading the NFL than it is college because the NFL is where they make most of their money and they're just kind of integrating into college a little bit more in depth now. They've had some crazy grades over the course of this year when it comes to college football, but according to PFF, the offensive line was credited with 5 of the sacks, the running back 1, the tight end 1, and that means Dylan Raiola and the wide receivers accounted for 2. Now this guy says, how can you blame the quarterback for that? We're going to get into a few of those things here in just a minute, because something else I'm going to do, I'm actually going to diagram a few plays just a little bit. I'm going to keep it quick, simple, and short, because right now we're getting beat by the quick, simple, and short things. It doesn't have to be fancy. I'm going to do another show in the future where I break down cover 2, cover 3, quarters, cover 1, all right? Cover 0, which is basically man-to-man across the board, no safeties deep, and they're blitzing 6 guys, and you better get the ball out. Okay, I saw Joel Klatt did that earlier in the winter. It's got like 500,000 views. I'm sure we could beat that. But we'll get to that at some point in the future. Matt Rhule at his press conference. He goes, I'm pissed. I'm pissed at myself. I'm pissed at the coaches. Now, personally, I appreciate the accountability and things of that nature, but we're getting to the point, and he's to the point, where he's like, I want to see results on the field. Nebraska is 1-10. It's a wonderful stat. Whenever Matt Rhule's teams get to 5 wins, after that, his first 3 seasons here, Matt Rhule's record is 1-10. Hopefully that changes going forward, starting with Northwestern on Saturday. Rhule even mentioned the Minnesota game was the first time Nebraska had not scored a touchdown since he became head coach here. He said, I'm pissed, I'm mad, I don't know what to say, it all falls on me and it starts with me. He also said, if the players are going to say they're going to do something, they got to go out and do it. If you say you're going to be something, you got to go do it. You got to do it on the field. Like Nick Saban says, action speaks so loudly I can't hear anything you say. Now he says, I will take ownership of it, but I'm looking for some other guys to step up as well. My impression from the press conference, we're going to go through a little bit more as a whole quickly before we get into the game. My impression was basically, he's mad, he's pissed. He's mad, he's pissed at the coaches. He said he's not mad or upset at the players. What he said is he's looking for guys to step up and take ownership. He said he's sick and tired of the entitlement. No excuses. It's 7-6 at halftime, and he says, guys, heads are down. Nothing is happening to you. Nobody's attacking you. They're playing football. You got to go make the play for yourself. I'm paraphrasing here. Now, this is my interpretation. Now, I'll be honest. I do know some things. I have conversations. I had a conversation the day after the Husker games that I will never forget. I had some interactions the day of the Husker games I will never forget. But my point is this. My interpretation is Matt Rhule, who says, it's on me. Guys, I'm up here. I'm taking ownership. I'm owning it. But at the end of the day, you guys got to do your jobs. You got to do your part. I'm not going to blame anybody else because it falls under my watch. This is my interpretation of what Matt Rhule was saying. But at the end of the day, you got to do your job. He said a lot of things in the offseason in support of his players. Dare I say, defending his players, promoting his players as a coach should, standing up for his players. You know, we're going to be really good at this. We're going to be really good at that. I'm not going to diatribe it all again. We've talked about it in the past. And then there were some times players got upset. He would address that. I think my interpretation is he's like, guys, I had your back. Now you got to have mine. And how do you do that? By your play on the field. Again, my interpretation, I think he feels a little hung out to dry because how players have a coach's back is not what you say. It's how you play on the field. My interpretation. Let's move on a little bit quickly here. He said, let's see if they stand up this week and fight for themselves. You can't blame anybody else. The team was excited to play. They were fired up. They were ready to go versus Minnesota. It wasn't lack of juice, lack of energy, not wanting to be there. He said what happened, though, is they punched us in the mouth. And he said two things happened. You can either back away or you can swing back. He's like, we didn't back away, but we didn't swing back either. He tried to tell the coaches, hey, this is going to be a rock fight. Friday night on the road at Minnesota. It was almost like he couldn't get the coaches to buy into what the game was really going to be like, and almost like they were surprised. And then when it happened, they didn't react the way they should. And he's kind of out of patience with that. He said, I'm over the entitlement. I'm over this and that. It's time to go do things, essentially. He said, I'm not mad at the guys. I'm mad at myself. He said, but it doesn't matter what you tell the guys and players if they don't listen. Matt Rhule made it clear to them he's not blaming them. It was his job to get them prepared, and he didn't do it. Here's a great thing that he said from Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson used to say that successful teams are only successful when they're doing successful things. And then I loved a lot of his press conference, okay? You know, there's things he said in the past I wasn't too crazy about. Oh, negative. People are making too much money off of negativity and despair. Nobody makes more money when Nebraska loses football games than when they win. And guys like me and Rob Zadiska who have shows, we love Nebraska football. We want them to win. I didn't love that quote. In fact, I downright did not like it at all, especially when I saw it across multiple months on multiple platforms. Like, no, nobody's picking on anybody. Nobody's attacking anybody. No, we're reacting to what we see on the field of play. Okay. But again, he was trying to stand up for his players. But here's something he said that I was like, ooh, all right, he said it. Matt Rhule said, and I quote, if fans spend their money this week to show up and watch a team diving on the ground and to make tackles and guys getting pushed back into the quarterback, I'd boo us, end quote. That is a risky thing for a coach to say, and it tells you how he feels. I personally would not put that out there. I still would not boo the team. React passionately. I'm always going to be the R word with it, respectfully. You know how hyped up I get, but I always keep the respect in it, even when I'm pissed. He put it out there, though. He said he also wants to make a concerted effort to get the ball into the hands of Emmett Johnson, Ja'Cory Barney, guys like that more often. He said we can't run on offense what we want to run. We have to run what works. We have to run what works based on who we have and what we can do, not what we think we want to run. Before we progress on and we get to the keys to the game, the prediction and the breakdown and the stats and some things I hope you folks find interesting, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. They are your concrete and retaining wall experts. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody does it better. We've had a long-standing relationship for like 4 or 5 years now because they do a great job. And obviously, they think they get a benefit from the show because it's a great partnership. And I love supporting DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Jason Armstrong does a phenomenal job of running the company. His company does great work. He's a great guy to work for. dpsconstruction.net. Also, Husker Auto Group. Husker Chevrolet and GMC have aggressive pricing on 2025 model Silverados and Sierras up to $11,000 off of MSRP. APR as low as 2.9% financing with approved credit. See dealer for details. Husker Chevrolet and GMC also has a great selection of 3/4-ton Silverado and Sierra trucks. Husker Chevrolet and GMC is locally owned and operated. Husker Auto Group is conveniently located off of North 27th Street and I-80 in North Lincoln. Also available 24/7 at HuskerAutoGroup.com. Here's a few picks you folks might find interesting. The Big Ten Power Rankings. Do you notice? We're behind UCLA and Northwestern. A couple of the opponents we're going to play in the future. Obviously, Iowa, USC as well. Penn State's behind us. Who would have thought that? And they're also behind UCLA and Northwestern. Why? Because they lost to them both. It's going to be a wild rest of the season. Imagine calling fans casuals and then blaming this on the quarterback. This is a 3-step drop by the time Raiola hit his 3rd step. Pictured, the edge rusher beat the left tackle and had a straight line path to 15. Dylan Raiola, you know what? You don't see a single wide receiver into his break. This is a scheme problem. So let's chat about this real quick, shall we? So here's the deal. There's multiple things that I see in this. And again, I'm going to keep it simple. It doesn't have to be fancy. We can dive more into that in a show in a later date. First of all, you look at the wide receivers. They're not breaking off their routes. You're correct. But here's the thing. This is a zone. So it's basically a 2-man rush. So this is where these edge rushers come here, and Dylan tries to bail here, and he gets sacked. So that was one thing that happened. But what this receiver right here, and I don't know what the route was called, but what he could do, he could just sit down right here. Boom. Dylan gets it out on time. You got a little first down. Okay. So first of all, we got to block better. We got to block better. How do 2-3 rushers beat 6 guys? So also, we got guys blocking nobody. This guy's blocking nobody. This guy's blocking nobody. And this looks like the back. Now, I wonder if this was the play. And I don't know for a fact that it is, but it looks like it might be the play where Rhule said the back was supposed to go in the flat, and he didn't. And Raiola looked, and he had to hold on to the ball. Again, maybe this is not the play. But what I'm telling you is he's blocking nobody. We got multiple guys blocking nobody. We got guys losing one-on-ones out here. So he could go to the flat. He'd be open. Then you, yards after catch, yak, all right, or yards after contact, run somebody over. Could get the first down right here because look how deep the secondary is. One guy in the middle. All right, you could hit him. Boom, sit down right here, read the opening in the zone, hit him. Dylan hits him on time. All right, let me clear the screen. So one thing I would say about what he had to say in his tweet that I snapshotted there was, I don't know, like they're not breaking. The wide receivers have not broken into the routes just yet. They're just running straight downfield. They haven't broken in, out, post, corner, whatever, the 7-9. They haven't done any of those things yet. So it is a long developing play, a long developing route, and these tackles got beat quick. But here's the other thing. I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples. If it's a hitch, all right, so let's say if it's a hitch, all right, and the receiver's lined up here, boom. You don't throw the ball once he's turned around. You throw the ball while he's here. And then once you get here turned around, it's timing. It's about timing. You got to get rid of the ball quick. If it's a slant, it's 1, 2, 3. The quarterback throws the ball on 3. So when he cuts, boom, the ball goes to him and he's being hit. You don't throw the ball after he's broke. You don't throw the ball once he's open. You throw the ball before he breaks because you know where he's going and the defense doesn't, so you can hit him in stride after he's initially broken or turned around. If it's a button hook, if it's a hitch, if whatever the case may be. So first of all, the ball's got to be out. The receiver's got to be breaking a little bit quicker. There's got to be better timing. There's not great timing on this. If we're running the wrong routes or somebody's not going where they're supposed to be, and again, I cannot say that definitively on this play, but we got guys blocking nobody. So that's an issue. And then here's the other thing. Dylan, step up. Step up. Okay. They got beat on the edge, and you tried to run outside on this play, and you got sacked. There's this gigantic hole right here. Step up into the pocket. So the timing is off. Okay, guys haven't broken. He hasn't thrown the ball. We're not sitting down in the zone. Again, I don't know what this guy's route is initially supposed to be, but sometimes you read the zone, you sit down. I don't know if we're running all the routes we're supposed to. My point is the protection breaks down. We don't step up in the pocket. We're not throwing on time. I don't know if everybody's running the right routes, if everybody's sitting down in the zone that they're supposed to in the opening in the zone. Rhule said they covered our receivers. Like they covered our receivers. We went man-to-man a lot, and all of a sudden they're running crossing routes and our guys are hitting into each other. Okay, with our receivers, a few times that we did get past them, Dane Key, I think once or twice, was open. It was missed. And then we had a drop when we got past them, so we weren't able to execute those things. So when it comes to this tweet that this guy put out, there's more to it than they just haven't broken off their route yet. I hope that makes sense. Emmett Johnson now leads the entire Big Ten in rushing. Let's run the ball. Let's get to him. I like the concerted effort that Rhule talked about. And here's Michael Severe alluding to one of the plays. First drive of the third quarter, Dane Key wins off the line of scrimmage is open by 4 or 5 yards, and it's an incomplete pass. Would have been 13-7. That's a very different ball game. What if Isaiah Hunter catches that pass in the game? He's been one of our best receivers lately. I'm not trying to call anybody out. We just got to make plays as a team. Emmett Johnson's touches by quarters. All right, first quarter, no touches in the first drive, 6 rushes total in the first quarter. Second quarter, 3 carries. Third quarter, 2 carries. Fourth quarter, 3 carries. 14 total rushes for 63 yards in that game when we were getting sacked 9 times. Total of 100 yards. Now, there are some fans, and I don't know that I completely disagree. Holgorsen is not running his air raid offense. We know that. He said it's going to be different than what he's normally done. It's more pro style than what he's done in the past. Okay. And he's not running his offense. He's running a modified version, a slimmed down version of Sat's offense, and it's hurting the team. Now, do we know definitively that this is or is not happening? Is he running Satterfield's offense? I know he learned their lingo from last year. I know that because I've been told that. Does that mean he's still running their offense? Or he learned their lingo and he's put in some of his plays? It looks like a slimmed down version of Satterfield's offense to me. I can't say that definitively. I can definitively say I know he learned his lingo. I wish I would have researched more to find out, hey, did he learn their lingo and then he implemented his offense? We do know it's more pro style. It's different than he's ever really ran before. Maybe that's dictated from Rhule. Maybe that's because they're in the Big Ten. Maybe that was his choice. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. If you bring in Dana Holgorsen, man, I'm going to let Dana Holgorsen be Dana Holgorsen. That's what I'm going to do. I can't say definitively anything other than what it looks like, and he learned their lingo. And I can find out more information when it pertains to these things in the future. Now, we've got other things, multiple schemes being married together with a ton of different talents. It doesn't necessarily fit into the specific puzzle. That's part of one tweet that was put out. This is why when asked what the issues are, Rhule simply said, and I quote, a lot, end quote, was one of a couple broken plays last night. Miscommunications are one thing, but mixed up protections and route schemes is another. Interesting thread. That was a whole thread that was put out on social media. All right, here's a couple more things before we get to the keys and prediction for the game. You look at Big Ten performance tiers for Week 8. We're in the bottom tier. Look where Northwestern is. Tier 2, second from the top. It's going to be a rock fight. It's going to be a dog fight, ladies and gentlemen. Rhule is 8-14 in the Big Ten. Nebraska is 33-59 in the Big Ten last 10 plus years. When you look at the Big Ten quarterback grades for Week 8 game, man, C-. They were harsh on Dylan Raiola, or it was a harsh performance, however you want to look at it. Northwestern shuts out Purdue their last game. They got a good defense, ladies and gentlemen. One thing I've noticed, as the season goes along, Nebraska doesn't always improve or look to get better. We've got to be able to do that. You look at Cincinnati. They have gotten better and better since Week 1. Can we say the same? I'll pose it as a question. Well, let's talk about Nebraska, Northwestern. Nebraska returns to Lincoln this weekend to take on Northwestern at Memorial Stadium. Game time is 11 a.m. Central Time. The game will be televised on FS1. The contest can also be heard on the Huskers radio network, Huskers.com, the official Huskers app. Saturday's contest will mark Nebraska's annual military and veterans salute at Memorial Stadium. The Huskers are 5-2 overall, 2-2 in the Big Ten. Following a 24-6 setback in Minnesota last Friday, the Huskers trailed 7-6. Oh my God, 6-7. My kids would love that. 7-6 at intermission, but Minnesota took control in the second half with 17 unanswered points to hand the Huskers their second loss of the season. Nebraska returns to Memorial Stadium for a 2-game homestand, beginning with this week's matchup against the Wildcats. The teams did not play last season after squaring off in each of Nebraska's first 13 seasons in the Big Ten from 2011 to 2023. The series has a history of close games, with 10 of the past 13 meetings being decided by one score, including Nebraska's 17-9 victory at Memorial Stadium 2 years ago. Northwestern also owns a 5-2 overall record with a 3-1 mark in Big Ten play. The Wildcats have won 4 straight games after opening the season with a 1-2 record. Coach David Braun's team has reeled off consecutive victories over UCLA, Louisiana Monroe, Penn State, and Purdue the past month. The Wildcats dominated the Boilermakers on Saturday, picking up a 19-0 victory in Evanston. Northwestern relies on a strong defense that allows 305 yards per game and 15 points per contest as well to rank in the top 25 nationally in both categories. The Wildcats have held 4 opponents to 14 or fewer points this season. Nebraska has held Northwestern to 10 or fewer points in each of the last 3 meetings at Memorial Stadium. The Huskers held the Wildcats to 10 points in 2019. 7 points in 2021 and 9 points in a 17-9 win in Matt Rhule's first season in 2023. Senior linebacker Javin Wright has recorded 10 or more tackles in 4 straight games, including a career-high 12 tackles each of the past 2 weeks. Wright is the first Husker player to record 4 straight double-digit tackle games since Barrett Roode had 8 straight double-digit figure tackle games in 2004. Nebraska running back Emmett Johnson has 75 career receptions, including a team-high 29 catches in 2025. Johnson is just the third Nebraska running back with 75 career receptions, joining Marlon Lucky, who had 135, and Jeff Kinney, who had 82. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more shout out, another great sponsor, another great company, 626 Auto Service here in Lincoln. They take care of my own, my wife's, my kids, my family's vehicles. Check them out at 626 Auto Service in Lincoln, 626autoservice.com, located at 2405 P Street in good old Lincoln, Nebraska, locally owned and operated for 20 years. 2+ decades. The owner is Dean Phelps. He's a good dude. You can trust what he says. Knowledgeable, good human being. Eric and Jeff, if you go in, ask for Dean, Eric, or Jeff, tell them that Adam sent you. Again, they will take care of oil changes, engine replacements. They offer shuttle rides, loaner vehicles, and financing as well if needed. 626 Auto Service in Lincoln. Check them out at 626autoservice.com. All right, Nebraska and Northwestern meet for the 14th time as Big Ten opponents and the 18th time overall in series history. The Huskers hold a 10-7 advantage, including a 7-6 edge since the Huskers joined the Big Ten. Nebraska has won each of the past 3 meetings in Lincoln, dating back to 2019 after Northwestern won 3 of 4 matchups at Memorial Stadium from 2011 to 2017. Since Nebraska joined the Big Ten in 2011, 10 of the 13 meetings have been decided by one score, including 6 of the 7 matchups in Lincoln. 6, 7, oh my gosh. 8 of 12 games between 2011 and 2022 were decided by 3 or fewer points or in overtime. Northwestern had a 5-3 edge in those games, including back-to-back overtime victories in 2017 and 2018. A victory over Northwestern would give Nebraska 6 wins in its first 8 games for the first time since opening the 2016 season with a 7-1 record through 8 games. And I absolutely agree. We have got to get the ball to our specific playmakers more. Ja'Cory Barney, Isaiah Hunter, get Dane Key involved more. Emmett Johnson, guys who need to step up. Emmett Johnson ranks 11th nationally and 2nd in the Big Ten with 101.2 rushing yards per game, and 1st in the Big Ten and 5th nationally in yards from scrimmage at 125.7 yards per game. Johnson is the only FBS player who leads his team in carries, rushing yards, and receptions. He's also the overall leading rusher for the Big Ten as well. Now, somebody's got to step up. I love that we spread the ball around. 5 Huskers have at least 20 receptions this season. In total, 19 players have caught a pass this season. That's phenomenal. At some point, somebody's got to specifically step up as well. You start to look at Northwestern specifically. Again, their head coach, David Braun, is in his 3rd season with the Wildcats, has an overall record of 17-15, but has the Northwestern off to a 5-2 start so far this year. The Wildcats are averaging 364 yards per game with 174 yards per game through the air and 190 yards per game on the ground. In the passing game, Preston Stone has completed 187 passes for 1,213 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Not a great touchdown to interception ratio unless you're us. All right, Griffin Wild. Got to keep your eye out for this dude. He gets like 90% of their targets, I feel. Has a team high 36 receptions for 516 yards and 4 touchdowns. You start to look at some of the key stats. Rushing offense. They average 190 yards a game, which is 38th in the country. We're sitting here at 104th in the country, averaging 125 yards per game. You look at passing offense. They're 112th in the country. We're 2nd in the Big Ten. They have the edge in rushing, at least going into Saturday. We have the edge in passing offense. When it comes to rushing defense, they're frankly not as good as I thought they would be. They're not bad. They're 56th in the country. We're 87th. But they are 18th in the country when it comes to pass defense. As you know, we're 1st. Total defense, they're 22nd in the country. And they're 11th in the country in scoring defense. The Huskers are 13th in the country in total defense and 30th in scoring defense. So Northwestern doesn't give up a lot of points. You're not going to be able to throw a ton on them. At least nobody has yet. We'll see what we can do. But I want to run the ball against them first and foremost. And they haven't been great at stopping that, even though they are a physical, blue-collar, in-your-face, smash-mouth team. And we got to be ready for that. All right, red zone defense. I was not aware that we were 120th in the country and 2nd from last in the Big Ten in red zone defense. We got to shore that up. Kickoff returns, we're still 2nd in the country. Kickoff return defense, the Wildcats are 7th in the country. Penalty yards, they're not going to beat themselves. They're 3rd in the country. When it comes to turnover margin, though, they're 107th in the country. I was surprised by that. And here's an interesting stat for you. The last time Nebraska, if we're going to give up 15,000 sacks, The last time we had 7 or more sacks in a game was versus Northwestern, October 21st, 2023. The Blackshirts had 8 in that game. How about we have a pop-off game for our defense? All right, ladies and gentlemen, here are my four keys this week to the game. Number one, I'm going to shock you. You're never going to see this one coming. Protect Dylan Raiola. How do we do that? Communicate better up front. Minnesota had 10 free runners at our quarterback throughout the game, and that doesn't include the guys that just straight up beat us in the pass rush and one-on-one situations. Communicate. Make sure you're on the same page. Be physical. If you're blocking, they're not going to get to your quarterback. You're going to die trying to protect him. That's got to be your mentality. Establish the run. Get the ball out quick, which feeds into play action. Then you can hit him over the top with the deep ball, which opens up underneath things. Then the run game, then play action pass, then quick screens. It all goes hand in hand. Hunter, Key, Barney, get them the ball. Let's get our screen game going as well. Number two, stop or at least limit the run. They rush for almost 200 yards a game. That is what they rely on, and they're one really good wide receiver. They have one of the best rushing offenses in the Big Ten. One of the worst passing offenses. They're 112th in the country. All right, got to limit that one wide receiver. Number three, come out swinging. Keep swinging, and when they hit you in the mouth, hit them right back. That's my third key to the game. Of course, I mean in a football sense. No more stupid penalties. All right, number four, no more excuses. Find a way to win. You have all the advantages in the world. Now, are you actually better at football? I believe we can be and should be, and I can't wait if we're able to win this game, which we should be able to, but we'll see. That's all that matters, though. Get the job done and find a way to win. Here is my official score prediction for Nebraska versus Northwestern. This is going to be like an 18-17, 18-16, like in the NFL when there's like 6 field goals and a safety and a touchdown and a safety, or a 22-21 type of game. I've got the good guys 20, the other guys 17. Here are my questions for you fine folks at home. They're brought to you by Husker Auto Group. Check them out at huskerautogroup.com. You can also follow me on the social medias. I'm on X, Facebook, and TikTok. Number one, let me know your answer in the comments below. What's your official score prediction for this game? Number two, what's your single biggest key to Nebraska beating Northwestern? And number three, this just hurts my feelings to ask. Over under 5 sacks. Do we allow less or more this weekend? By the way, Northwestern has one defender who has 5 sacks on the season. Do not let this be a stat stacking game for him. No more. Go Big Red Nose. Remember, the